Welcome to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Circle, the simple and AI-powered rewards and recognition platform for employee engagement.
Recognition-rich cultures are the need of the hour. We now need to rethink rewards and recognition systems for a better employee experience due to the shifting employee expectations. For example, in these crucial times, using cutting-edge and creative incentives to recognize outstanding performance with experiential gifts can energize employees and promote their well-being. The previous few months have seen significant support from technology as well. Digital acceleration enabled company leaders, HR professionals, and executives to quickly adjust and assure workplace collaboration. In the current environment, operational procedures and R&R initiatives continue to benefit from digitization's capacity to improve employee experience and engagement. In this podcast, let's know more about the new age recognition in the workplace. We'll discuss a few ideas of new age employee recognition solutions for greater employee experience, the common mistakes that we make in recognition, maintaining equality in rewards and recognition, and much more. Hi everyone, I'm your host Sushmita, and for this podcast I have with me Lipika Verma, who is currently in the role of Vice President, Rewards and Performance Innovation and Thought Leadership for Schneider Electric. Welcome to the show, Lipika.
Hello Sushmita, good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here in this podcast today, Lipika. So can you tell us about your background and your path to excellence in rewards and performance innovation and thought leadership before we move on to the topic today?
Sure. So just to talk a little bit about myself, Sushmita, I'm an HR professional and have been working for the last 25 years across different industries in the role of an HR business partner or in rewards. And currently I'm working with Schneider Electric in the role of Vice President, Rewards and Performance Innovation and Thought Leadership. And I lead the Center of Expertise for rewards and performance function globally for Schneider Electric.
Brilliant. So I'm with the right person today with the right topic. And when I'm going to ask you this question, I am reminded of some random recognition efforts, that I received and my colleagues received in some of my previous organizations. Some were really powerful while others were like completely tacky and no one actually believed in them. So let's today ask this question. So starting at the top, what is the great recognition and what makes it so crucial for you?
All right. So in today's context, if you really look at organizations and look at the element of attraction, motivation, and retention of talent, we talk about total rewards philosophy, which means that we talk about compensation, we talk about benefits, we talk about development, as well as environment. And when I say environment, it has a lot of pieces over it. Maybe it's related with how is the relationship with the manager, what is the overall work life that you have in the company, what's the culture of the organization. And last but not the least, recognition, which holds an extremely important place as far as environment for the organization is concerned.
Undoubtedly.
So as part of the total rewards, I think recognition is something which is of topmost priority. And it is one thing which really helps an individual to perform better, to be motivated, and keep the journey going in a positive manner overall.
Yeah. So surely, Lipika, recognition, it goes beyond just saying, that Sushmita is our number one employee. It's really trying to understand who is Sushmita and what motivates her and why she is passionate about what she is doing and why she is doing at workplace, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So also, Lipika, talking about recognition, if it is not done in the proper way, it may impact others negatively, causing a lot of envy on teams or attitudes, creating attitudes like, that person is always getting a credit. I am not getting a credit for my work. So how would you like to discuss this dilemma, this envy, and if you have any other stories from the shadows of recognition?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something which we need to be mindful of as leaders in the organization, that recognition is an extremely pertinent topic and it has to be done right by the leaders, by the managers, and even by the employees. Now, when we talk about recognition, there are three things I feel very, very important, which is the element around being genuine when you are actually recognizing. Also, it needs to be timely, it needs to be spontaneous, and we need to target the right person or the right set of team members when we are actually recognizing. So, I mean, it can be anything. It can be a monetary recognition, it can be a non-monetary recognition. But when I think about it, I think the tone of the culture needs to be set by the leadership team and also by all the managers and also by all employees, because peer-to-peer recognition today is also equally important. Now, there may be situations when some person feels that, I am not getting recognized while the other teams are getting recognized. There has to be a dialogue with the manager. The person needs to be thanked, even if there is a little bit of a motivation that we are seeing in the employee. And I think the culture, as I said, it has to be very genuine. So it's just not something where you want to be very, very democratic or socialist in terms of recognizing each and every individual. This recognition has to happen for something which is more than what is expected from the employee. So it's more than business as usual. And in those situations, if the communication has been done properly through the leaders, if the culture is set up in a way that we genuinely recognize great effort, then we actually get to see that it's not that bad feeling which exists in the minds of the employee. And one additional thing which I wanted to talk about is peer-to-peer recognition. So even a simple thank you goes a long way.
Right.
And when we give that thank you to an individual and share our gratitude for the person, that also helps the individual to feel motivated and perform at his or her best. So that's where I leave it. But I think it's all around culture. It's all around how the tone of recognition culture has been set up in the company.
Indeed, Lipika, executing recognition in a way that feels personal, fair and relevant to the team's objective is truly I would say it's an art and a struggle at the same time. So it's definitely not like, wow, you're incredible, saying just a sentence, but acknowledging that you actually did this and your work has helped us in these many ways. So Lipika, would you like to give us some pointers on building a successful team culture that includes recognition? Like what are some of the best practices that you have adopted for the same in your organization?
Yeah, so I think one is, of course, we have got into a social recognition platform, which means that whenever you're recognizing someone in the team, the entire set of team members are aware about it. The entire network of employees or co-workers are aware about it, and that really helps because we all know we are human beings and we all want to be recognized in front of everyone, others, right? So a social recognition platform goes a long way when it comes to recognition and a successful team culture, so to say. The other thing I want to talk about is team recognition is extremely important. And, we know that one person in a company cannot be just successful without the support of others and without the support of team members. And therefore, if there are initiatives which are more targeted towards team, if there is a team award which is coming through, I think that really helps in further motivating the set of employees and in further delivery of the results and really going that extra mile, so to say. So that's another thing. And the third element is, I just spoke about it, but I think the element of just a simple thank you, where a person has gone a little bit beyond the expectation, is something which really helps in having that culture of recognition, the culture of thank you, the culture of pat on the back. And that really goes a long way within the organization.
Brilliant. So I believe on a very personal note also, these are the ways you want to feel, recognize that work, Lipika?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or is there something extra that you want, you expect from the workplace?
No, I mean, I think it is always great to be recognized, and it is it is something which keeps me motivated in my work on a personal basis. So, at this juncture, I can probably, if you talk about, on a personal note, how would I like to be recognized at work?
Right.
Maybe if you're okay, I can narrate a quick story from my childhood days.
For sure, Lipika. Please continue. Yeah.
And I remember when I was quite young, probably in grade 2 or something, I used to do very good painting. And there was this inter-school competition where I had participated, and I got a prize, which was the second rank in that entire competition. And it was actually within a set of schools in the city I was in. And I have very vivid memories of the day when the prize distribution function was held, and I saw my parents sitting in the front row in the auditorium, and I went ahead and received that prize. I think that was the first time I actually would have got recognized in front of so many parents, so many children. And as I said, I still have vivid memories of it. And I remember coming back home and sleeping on the bed. My mom still tells me that you actually slept with the trophy in my hand that night. And that's where I think the journey around how a praise, how a recognition helps a child to actually do better and excel in the work started. And for me personally, I think that was when it just felt so good that I started doing my best in whichever area I was involved in, be it studies, be it any kind of additional work, be it even household work. I started doing everything with perfection and to the best of my capabilities. And the story hasn't changed. I mean, as a child, what I witnessed and the impact of recognition that I had in my life has still made that difference to what I am today as an HR professional. And it kind of helps me to drive myself in the best possible way, deliver in the best possible way, and also give to the organization something which is very, very meaningful and to the best of my capability. So that's my personal story, but I hope it kind of resonates with me.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing this with us today. Yeah, so moving forward, Lipika, if I ask you to point out top 3 mistakes that one might make in recognition, what would be those?
Yeah, I think it should be some of the elements that I just touched upon in my earlier conversation. I think it needs to be genuine and it needs to be coming from the heart. So it is just not for the sake of recognizing someone or just for any kind of metrics which we need to achieve within a company, saying, okay, you need to have weekly velocity of such and such number, or a manager needs to recognize so and so people by the end of the year. So instead of attaching metrics to the entire recognition, I think the one most important thing is that it needs to be genuine and coming from the heart and coming from the mind, saying, okay, this person has gone that extra mile and therefore needs to be recognized, or this team has delivered great things and therefore needs to be recognized. So genuineness of recognition is extremely important. The second thing I would talk about is the element around, timeliness of recognition. Recognition, if done, 2 months later, doesn't make any sense. And therefore, as and when the person has done a credible job, we need to recognize the individual then and there. And therefore, how do you link the entire recognition platform in your working ecosystem is something very important. So today, as organizations are working on Teams or let's say on Outlook, if there are integrations happening, or if the recognition social platform is available on your mobile phone, it just becomes very easy and timely as well. So that is something which is extremely important, and we need to make sure that we are able to give a seamless experience to the employees and to the leaders when it comes to recognition. And the other thing I would say is, I think it's not something which only can be driven from the top. So it's not only that managers or leaders have to recognize. it also has to happen from the bottom. So if I am very happy with the contribution from a peer of mine in a project that we are co-leading, and I recognize my peer, that's something which is brilliant. And if we are able to follow these three things around, genuineness, around the fact that timely recognition is given, and also the fact that it's just not the role of leaders and managers to recognize, but it's the role of the entire set of employees in the organization to make sure we are able to enhance the culture of recognition, it should be fine. So as long as the company is taking these security measures or ensuring that these three things are taken care of, it should work out well, in my view.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lipika. If I ask you about if you could change something in the world of work or leadership, what would be that?
All right. So I think many a times I feel that employees or managers or leaders, they are very, very hesitant to recognize or they feel a little bit lazy to go and recognize in a spontaneous manner. And that's something that I want to drive as a change, not only in my organization, but even otherwise, even on a personal basis. How often do you thank your partner, your spouse, your children, your people who are your domestic help or your drivers? I think we as human beings are not very good at saying a simple thank you to others. That is something which I feel should be inculcated as a culture in us, and not only in office, but even in our home space. I think we need to be thankful. Yeah, absolutely. We need to be thankful. We need to show our gratitude. And as I said, a simple thank you goes a long way. And that is true for any individual, not only in a professional setup, but even in a personal setup. Very true, Lipika.
Yeah, nicely answered. Thank you, Lipika, for this answer as well. So, is there anything that you read, watched, or listened to lately that you think our listeners might enjoy? Any book or podcast or any movie, anything?
Yeah, I was just going through the Indra Nooyi's autobiography, and as a woman leader, I was trying to go through what she had talked about in terms of different elements that she faced throughout her career. And honestly, for me, I could relate to so many things which she spoke about, especially when it came in the context of children and career and managing everything and making sure you're good at everything at a personal and professional level as well. So that's one book which I felt I thoroughly enjoyed, and I just read it a couple of months back. Thoroughly enjoyed because of the fact that I was able to relate to it. And yeah, that's one thing that I can talk about very quickly over here.
Brilliant. Lipika, we are almost towards the end of this podcast. So is there anything else that you want to add?
I would just say that we as leaders in the organization really need to enhance the culture of recognition in the company, because that is a need for each and every human being. The fact that there are available platforms with wonderful technology available in the market, I think it's just pertinent and important for us to leverage technology and make sure that we are able to help people, motivate them further, encourage them further through a social recognition. And as I said, it's the gratitude, it's the thank you, which really helps drive the human behavior in a positive manner. And that's where I would like to say that, say a simple thank you to a good work done. So that's where I'll leave it, Sushmita. I hope it was useful for the listeners.
For sure, Lipika. Thank you once again, and would like to know if our listeners want to reach out to you for something more that they want to know from you, maybe. How can they reach out to you?
Sure. I am pretty much available on LinkedIn and quite active on LinkedIn. So that's where I would encourage all my listeners to reach out to me, if that helps.
Sure. I'll be adding the link to your LinkedIn profile in our show notes, Lipika.
Sure, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Sushmita.
Yeah, thank you so much for this conversation today, Lipika. Thank you for taking your time and going so in depth with all your answers. So I appreciate all that we discussed today on such an important topic, and I'm sure that our listeners would love this episode. So thanks once again, and hope to hear from you soon again.
Thank you, Sushmita. It was lovely being with you and talking through this conversation on recognition. Thanks again for having me here. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Vantage HR Influencers Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage HR Influencers Podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and our YouTube channel for new episodes.